So Ronan Farrow is the man who helped take down Harvey Weinstein with his bombshell report in the New Yorker. Now, Weinstein, of course, a very, very powerful figure, not only in Hollywood, but also in politics. He was actually a big donor to Democratic politicians. Now, that meant that exposing him meant going after one of the most powerful figures in media and one of the big, powerful donors. That is no small feat, and actually came with a lot of risk. Look, I want to tell you about some of that risk that Ronan Farrow had actually experienced. Now, the Daily Beast has an excellent report on that, which includes how NBC allegedly tried to stop that report from even coming out. Now, they said that NBC News has long insisted that the Weinstein expose was not ready to run on air or online. Now, Ronan Farrow at the time, before publishing, said, no, it was ready. I had everything that I needed, despite the fact that NBC was not helping me with this anymore. Now, Farrow's story, which ultimately ran in the New Yorker, was part of a series that won the 2018 Pulitzer Prize for Public Service, earned him the prestigious George Polk Award for National Reporting, and garnered near universal praise from his colleagues, because it was such a bombshell report. Now, the Daily Beast has uncovered new details, however, of how the process nearly went awry, including alleged threats from NBC, backbiting inside the network about who was truly responsible, and a previously unreported ultimatum by Weinstein's attorneys. So, according to multiple sources familiar with the matter, NBC News General Counsel, and this starts with her, Susan Weiner, made a series of phone calls to Farrow that threatened to smear him if he continued to report on Harvey Weinstein. Now, a spokesman for NBC News, of course, says, no, this is absolutely false. There's no truth to it at all. There's no chance in no version of the world that Susan Weiner would tell Ronan Farrow what he could or could not report on. So what is the truth here? Well, let's dive into the details. Now, in February 2015, after Farrow had lost his daytime show on MSNBC, which I think, I never watched that show. I don't think that it was correct medium for Ronan Farrow. It turns out investigative reporting happened to be his forte, so it actually worked out quite well. Now, he worked with NBC News' investigative unit. In November of 2016, Farrow and a producer named Rich McHugh, who had just also decided to step down, decided that they wanted to do a story about Hollywood's casting couch. Now, we all know that is, right? The longtime practice of producers and other powerful men exchanging sex with women for film roles, according to multiple sources familiar with the matter. Now, the story was timed to be released around the Academy Awards, these sources said. So they wanted to look into this practice, right? Now, at this point, Harvey Weinstein had a lot of rumors around him, right? But nobody necessarily knew that he was actually doing this. There was a lot of talk. There were a lot of people that were like, we think that it might be Weinstein, but we don't know. We don't have the proof of it. All we have are basically whispers. And they stayed whispers, and they would have stayed whispers if it weren't for Farrow and McHugh deciding to look into this. Now, they presented the idea to NBC News president Noah Oppenheim, who suggested that the team look into an October 2016 tweet by actress Rose McGowan that she was raped by a Hollywood executive, again, unnamed, according to two sources with knowledge of the investigation. Now, Oppenheim probably thought, oh, great story. Okay, yeah, go ahead and look into it. We'll see what you come up with. Now, over the next several months, Farrow collected evidence that suggested that Weinstein had a pattern of inappropriate behavior towards women, according to the sources in previous reporting by the Daily Beast, HuffPost, and the New York Times. By February, according to these same sources, Farrow had secured an on-the-record interview with McGowan, in which the actress said she had been sexually harassed by a powerful producer, though she did not name Weinstein. Now, McGowan did subsequently name Weinstein during the NBC investigation, but had also reportedly pulled her interview after being legally threatened by Weinstein, who had reached a $100,000 settlement with her in 1997 after she accused him of sexual assault. Now, the big piece of evidence that they got was a bombshell audio recording from an NYPD sting in which Weinstein had admitted to groping a Filipina Italian model, Ambra Badalana Gutierrez, in 2015. Now, that audio was also published in The New Yorker. So now, NBC, of course, comes back and says, well, the tape on its own was color. It added to an already known accusation. That accusation that Weinstein, of course, had been a predator for quite some time. And again, that was something that was pretty unspoken in Hollywood. Now, but people knew about it anyway. So, now they also continued by saying, while it was absolutely significant to hear Badalana's voice, the tape alone would not expose Weinstein as a serial sexual predator, as had been alleged. So, what they're saying is it's not enough. It's not enough. Okay, but wait, you've got enough. You've got him on tape admitting to groping women. He's like, yeah, that's what I do. I grope women. That's what he says. That's not enough. Not according to NBC News. And it's not just that. It is also other things, other evidence that they had come up with, that they had found. Not enough. Not enough. In fact, it actually gets worse than that. Because let me show you why they think it wasn't enough. In spring of 2017, according to the sources, Farrow played Oppenheim the audio of Weinstein with Badalana admitting that he was used to groping women's breasts. At one point during the meeting, according to sources, Oppenheim had asked if people still cared about Weinstein. Oh, okay, wait a minute. So here we have a tape where he admits, yeah, I'm a groper. And this guy asks, yeah. Okay, sure. But do we really care? Does anybody really care about Weinstein doing this? I'm sure there are a lot of people that care, actually. Especially the victims. But no. Does anybody care? Do you care? I mean, Ronan, it's not like we're doing journalism here. Don't forget, we're at NBC, where we serve power. Now, of course, after that, Farrow was not thrilled, and according to sources, had begun to suspect that Oppenheim, who moonlighted as a Hollywood screenwriter, was potentially communicating with Weinstein directly about the story. So Weinstein was not supposed to know about this. They hadn't actually asked him to go on the record, but nonetheless, he seemed to have found out. Weird. Now again, Weinstein wields significant power in the movie world. He could make or break your career. He was basically a gatekeeper to the world of Hollywood. If you piss him off, you're never going to get in. There goes your screenwriting career. So Oppenheim was also a Hollywood screenwriter. I wonder who you would have to impress in order to get into Hollywood, to have one of his screenplays adapted. It's not hard to come up with the link here. So we have Oppenheim here communicating possibly with Weinstein about the case. But is that the reality? Well, one detail suggests so. During a meeting in summer of 2017, Oppenheim mentioned to Farrow that Weinstein had raised objections to Farrow's reporting, even though Farrow had not yet asked Weinstein to comment on the allegations. He shouldn't even know about this investigation. Somehow he does. And somehow Oppenheim says, oh yeah, by the way, Weinstein told me that he doesn't like your report. Gee, I wonder why. Now, HuffPost also reported last year that Oppenheim had relayed concerns from Weinstein's lawyers that Farrow could not report the story because the producer had worked with his estranged father, director Woody Allen. No, that's it. Guilty. He knew. He worked with Weinstein. No. Ronan, I understand that you're trying to do journalism here. But, I mean, look, I'm trying to get into Hollywood. I'm trying to get my foot in the door. I'm writing screenplays here. And he worked with my dad, and so we can't have you run this report. It gets worse. By August of 2017, Farrow was prepared to fly to California to interview a woman who was going to claim in silhouette on camera that Weinstein had raped her, according to the sources. Farrow wanted to publish this interview and what he had already gathered, but network higher-ups said they needed more evidence and would not allow Farrow to use an NBC News crew for the interview. Now, wait a minute. So on the one hand, they said, you can't publish this because you don't have enough evidence. Okay, well, I'm about to get more evidence on camera. Well, yeah, but that means, well, you can't use our news crew then to get that evidence. Well, wait a minute. You're telling me to get more evidence, and then you're blocking any way for me to go and get more evidence. Insanity. Now, Farrow went ahead with the interview anyway, but he ended up paying for a camera crew out of his own pocket. Now, look, that right there, I think that is like, that shows you what Ronan Farrow's about. I just got a lot of respect for him in this. He was so determined to do journalism, so determined to get the story out there, that he decided, you know what? If you're not going to pay for it, then fine. I'm going to pay for it out of pocket. Look, he could have walked away. He could have ignored the story. And he could have been doing, other investigative stuff for NBC and still had gotten paid. But he didn't. He decided to challenge power. That's dedication. That right there is, I think, a hallmark of a true journalist. So now, he was out at NBC, and now the New Yorker steps in, right? Now, dejected, Farrow approached longtime New Yorker media writer Ken Aletta to seek advice about what to do with his reporting and where to take the story. Now, Farrow had interviewed Aletta, who had twice previously attempted to report news about Weinstein's alleged behavior for the NBC story the previous month. Aletta suggested bringing the story to the New Yorker and called editor-in-chief David Remnick, who accepted the idea. Now, that should have been it, right? Okay, so NBC didn't want to run the story. They wanted to defend Weinstein. Okay, well, the New Yorker, right? Since it is Farrow's reporting, it is Farrow's story, he did all the work. He even paid for the camera crew out of pocket to collect some of this evidence. Okay, then he should be able to go to the New Yorker. Well, that's yes, it is ultimately what happened. But NBC, it turns out, didn't actually want the New Yorker to run the story. Now, this is amazing. According to multiple sources, Weinstein attorney Charles Harder claimed in legal threats to Farrow and others that NBC News had given them written assurances that Farrow would not use any reporting he obtained about Weinstein during his time at the network, according to two sources with knowledge of the situation. Oh, no. That's NBC stories. That's not your story, Ronan Farrow. You can't run that. That's what NBC is saying. NBC told me. Now, of course, NBC comes out and says, no. That's completely incorrect. No, we didn't say that at all. Well, then why'd the lawyer say it? That's weird. Somebody's lying here. Somebody is. Now, despite letters from Weinstein's attorney, Farrow and the New Yorker still decided to press on and eventually published the piece just days after the New York Times released its own report about Weinstein's history of alleged sexual misconduct and the use of settlements and non-disclosure agreements to silence accusers. So now they publish it. What happens at NBC? That allegedly did not want the story to get out in the first place. Apparently, there was pure chaos. Immediately after Farrow published his bombshell at the New Yorker, top figures at NBC began pointing fingers at each other, according to a couple sources. While Oppenheim told staffers at a division-wide town hall meeting that he took responsibility for the decision to let the story go, He privately told at least one colleague that NBC News chairman Andrew Lack and senior communications vice director Mark Kornblau had made him a scapegoat. Oh, no, it wasn't me. No, it wasn't my decision. It was Andy Lack. It was Mark Kornblau. They're trying to throw me under the bus when it was Andy's decision, the colleague recalled Oppenheim saying. So they're pointing fingers. The insanity. Now, of course, NBC, they deny this. They vehemently deny the story and everything in it, of course, talking to the Daily Beast. So, look, I want to basically let you guys decide for yourself who you believe. Hey, everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.